Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today to reveal a truth that many of us overlook in our fast-paced, interconnected world. We live in a time when loneliness is often seen as a curse, a burden to bear. But what if I told you that God, in His infinite wisdom, desires for you to be alone not as a punishment, but as a profound opportunity? An opportunity to reconnect with the deepest parts of yourself, to grow in strength, and to discover the purpose He has placed in your life. Tonight, I will share why solitude in the divine plan is a gift, one that leads to transformation, fulfillment, and the fulfillment of your true destiny. So, open your heart, your mind, and let's journey together into this revelation. Solitude is a time for personal growth and self-discovery. When you find yourself alone, it is not a mere absence of company or activity. It is an opportunity to truly connect with who you are and where you are headed in life. Many people run from solitude, fearing what they might discover about themselves. But it is in these quiet moments, away from the distractions of the world, that we can begin to understand the depths of our hearts, our desires, and our true purpose. In the rush of everyday life, we often lose sight of who we really are. We wear masks to fit into societal expectations or to live up to the roles others want us to play. Solitude removes those distractions and exposes our authentic selves. When you are alone, you are forced to confront yourself. You cannot hide behind external noise, constant communication, or the validation of others. It's in this space of quiet and stillness that you begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You can ask yourself the tough questions: what do I really want? What am I running from? What do I fear? What are my dreams? What holds me back from living the life I desire? Without the interference of external voices, you can find answers that have always been there, waiting to be recognized. The distractions of daily life often prevent us from taking the time to ask ourselves these vital questions. Furthermore, being alone is a time of reflection. It allows you to look back at your life with clarity and evaluate the experiences that have shaped you. You can assess the mistakes you've made and the lessons you have learned, helping you to avoid repeating those same mistakes in the future. This reflection also gives you the opportunity to forgive yourself, heal from past wounds, and release any bitterness that may be holding you back. Growth cannot happen if we are constantly looking outward or avoiding uncomfortable emotions. Solitude forces us to face these feelings and work through them. In these moments of solitude, you also have the space to reconnect with your values and beliefs. In the hustle of modern life, we are often influenced by the opinions and pressures of the world around us. We may adopt beliefs or behaviors that are not in alignment with our true selves. Solitude helps us to re-examine what we truly believe and to realign ourselves with those beliefs. It allows us to reconnect with our core values, which might have been buried under layers of external influence. When we are in alignment with our values, we gain a sense of inner peace and clarity that cannot be found in the chaos of everyday life. Additionally, solitude encourages creativity and self-expression. Without distractions, we have the mental space to tap into our creativity and think freely. Many of history's greatest thinkers, artists, and inventors spent long periods of time in solitude, allowing their minds to wander and explore ideas that might have seemed too radical or unconventional at the time. When you are alone, you can allow yourself to dream big without the limitations imposed by others' opinions or societal expectations. You can try new things, explore new ideas, and take risks without the fear of judgment. This creativity nurtures personal growth, pushing you to reach beyond your current limitations and embrace new possibilities. Solitude also fosters a deeper understanding of your emotional landscape. Often we mask our true emotions or suppress them in an attempt to appear strong or composed. But in solitude, we are forced to face these emotions head-on. Whether it's sadness, fear, or even joy, we can sit with these feelings and allow ourselves to process them without shame or guilt. This emotional honesty is essential for growth because it allows us to fully experience our emotions, learn from them, and let go of what no longer serves us. By acknowledging and accepting our emotions, we grow stronger and more resilient in the face of life's challenges. Finally, solitude is a place for spiritual deepening. In the quiet moments of being alone, we can draw nearer to God and deepen our relationship with Him. It's in these moments of stillness that we hear His voice more clearly. We can reflect on His word, seek His guidance, and open ourselves up to His presence. This intimate connection with God in solitude allows us to understand His will for our lives and grow in faith. It's during these moments that we can truly experience the peace that comes from trusting in God's plan and letting go of the need for control. In solitude, we are given the chance to understand ourselves at a deeper level. The noise of the world fades away, and we are left with only our thoughts, feelings, and desires. It's here that we can make sense of who we are, what we need to heal, and where we are headed. This time of reflection and self-discovery is vital for our growth and development. It's only in solitude that we can fully explore our inner world and begin to grow into the person we were always meant to be. Being alone allows for a deeper connection with God. In the busyness of our lives, it is easy to become disconnected from our spiritual selves as we become consumed with the demands of work, relationships, and the constant noise of the world. Yet, when we find ourselves alone, it is in those quiet moments that we have the opportunity to draw closer to God in a way that is often impossible when surrounded by distractions. Solitude creates the perfect environment for spiritual intimacy. In the stillness, we can hear God's voice more clearly, feel His presence more strongly, and understand His guidance more profoundly. When we are alone, we are free from the influences and opinions of others. It is in these moments that we can turn inward and reflect on our relationship with God without any external pressures. In solitude, there is no one else to impress, no one else to judge us, and no distractions pulling us away from what matters most. It is just us and God. This time of isolation allows us to focus on our spiritual needs and desires, creating a sacred space for prayer, meditation, and worship. In this space, we can bring all our worries, fears, and hopes to God and lay them before Him, trusting that He will guide us through the challenges we face. God often speaks to us in the quiet moments of our lives. In the noise of the world, it can be difficult to hear His voice above the chaos. But when we are alone, there is nothing to drown out the whispers of His Spirit. It is in the solitude that we can hear His gentle promptings, His encouragement, and His wisdom. The Bible tells us that God speaks to us in the stillness, reminding us that His presence is not always in the loud, dramatic moments, but in the quiet and calm. In these moments of solitude, we can attune our hearts to His voice, tuning out the distractions and tuning in to His divine guidance. Moreover, being alone allows us to create space for deep, honest conversations with God. When we are surrounded by others, it can be easy to mask our true feelings and emotions. We may hesitate to share our doubts, fears, or struggles with God because we fear judgment or feel as though we should have everything figured out. But in solitude, we can be completely open and vulnerable with God. We can pour out our hearts to Him without fear, knowing that He is always listening with love and compassion. It is in these moments of raw honesty that we experience a deeper connection with God as we allow Him to enter into the deepest parts of our hearts. Solitude also allows us to be still before God, which is essential for cultivating a deeper spiritual life. In the busyness of everyday life, we often feel the need to keep moving, to keep doing. We feel as though our worth is tied to our productivity, and we fear that being still will cause us to fall behind. But God calls us to be still and know that He is God. It is in stillness that we can experience His peace, His love, and His presence. Solitude provides the opportunity to simply be in God's presence without any agenda or expectation, allowing us to receive from Him in a way that is impossible when we are constantly rushing from one thing to the next. During times of solitude, we can also reflect on the truths of God's Word and deepen our understanding of His promises. The Scriptures are full of wisdom and guidance, but it can be difficult to fully comprehend them when we are distracted by the demands of life. When we are alone, we can devote time to meditating on the Word of God, allowing it to sink deep into our hearts. As we reflect on the Scriptures in solitude, we invite God to reveal new insights, new revelations, and new understanding. This deeper connection with God's Word strengthens our faith and helps us to live in accordance with His will. Additionally, solitude allows us to let go of distractions and focus on our spiritual growth. We often seek validation from the world around us, whether it's through our achievements, possessions, or relationships. But when we are alone, we are reminded that our true worth comes from God alone. It is in these moments of solitude that we can reflect on our identity in Christ and come to a deeper understanding of who we are in Him. This understanding of our worth in God's eyes frees us from the need to seek validation from others and empowers us to live with confidence and purpose. Furthermore, being alone gives us the opportunity to cultivate a life of prayer and worship. When we are surrounded by others, it can be difficult to find the time or space to connect with God in the way that we truly desire. But in solitude, we can set aside intentional time for prayer, worship, and reflection. This focused time with God strengthens our relationship with Him and nurtures our spiritual growth. Through prayer and worship, we invite God to be an active presence in our lives, and we open ourselves up to receive His love and grace. In solitude, we are also able to discern God's will for our lives. Life is full of choices, and it can be overwhelming to navigate the paths before us. But when we are alone with God, we can ask for His direction and guidance. We can trust that He will speak to us clearly and lead us on the right path. Solitude creates the space for us to quiet our minds, listen to God's voice, and receive the wisdom we need to move forward with confidence and clarity. It is in these moments of stillness that we can truly hear God's heart for our lives and align ourselves with His plan. Isolation strengthens your faith and reliance on God. In a world that is constantly filled with distractions and demands, it is easy to find ourselves leaning on our own understanding and relying on our own strength. We live in a time where instant solutions, quick fixes, and the support of others are always just a phone call away. But when we experience moments of isolation, we are forced to confront our limitations and rely solely on God. It is in these moments of solitude that our faith is deepened, our dependence on Him grows, and we come to understand the truth that we are not in control of everything. When we are isolated, whether by choice or circumstance, we are reminded of the importance of trusting in God's timing and plan for our lives. Often, when life becomes overwhelming or uncertain, we look to the people around us for support or answers. We search for someone to give us direction, or we seek comfort in the familiar. But isolation removes these external comforts, leaving us with no choice but to look inward and upward. It is in these moments that we realize that God is our only true source of guidance, strength, and hope. In the absence of other voices, we learn to listen more intently to His voice, and our faith becomes less reliant on human understanding and more rooted in God's wisdom. During times of isolation, we are also forced to confront our own weaknesses and limitations. We cannot hide behind distractions, busyness, or the validation of others. We are left with ourselves and our thoughts. This can be a humbling experience as we come face to face with areas of our lives where we have struggled, where we have failed, or where we have doubted. But isolation provides the perfect opportunity for growth. When we acknowledge our weaknesses, we can bring them before God and allow Him to work in us. We begin to see that our own strength is not enough, and we are reminded of our need for God's grace and power to help us overcome. In isolation, we learn that it is not in our own abilities, but in God's strength that we are able to stand firm. Additionally, isolation often leads us to a place of greater intimacy with God. When we are isolated, we have the opportunity to spend uninterrupted time with God, free from the distractions of the world. It is in these quiet moments that we can pour out our hearts to Him, seek His guidance, and listen for His voice. In the solitude, we can be completely vulnerable with God, bringing Him our doubts, fears, struggles, and desires. This openness creates a deeper connection with God as we allow Him into the innermost parts of our hearts. Our faith is strengthened as we experience His love, His faithfulness, and His provision in ways that are only possible when we are fully reliant on Him. In isolation, we also learn to rely on God for our emotional and spiritual nourishment. It is easy to seek comfort in the company of others or in the things of this world. We may turn to friends, family, or even material possessions for solace during difficult times. But when we are isolated, we are forced to turn to God as our sole source of comfort and strength. We come to realize that the things of this world are fleeting and cannot provide the lasting peace and joy that only God can offer. It is in isolation that we learn to trust in God's provision and to lean on Him for the emotional and spiritual support that we need. Our faith grows stronger as we experience firsthand that God is faithful to meet all our needs, even in our times of isolation. Furthermore, isolation gives us the opportunity to grow in patience and perseverance. When we are isolated, we often find ourselves waiting for answers, for guidance, for direction. In our culture of instant gratification, waiting can be a difficult and frustrating experience. But isolation teaches us that God's timing is perfect, and that waiting on Him is not a sign of weakness, but an act of faith. We learn that God is working behind the scenes, even when we cannot see the immediate results. During these times, our faith is tested and refined as we learn to trust in God's plan and His perfect timing. We discover that God's delays are not denials, but opportunities for us to grow in trust, patience, and reliance on Him. Another key aspect of isolation that strengthens our faith is the opportunity to engage in deeper prayer. When we are isolated, we can take the time to seek God through prayer in a way that is difficult to do in the busyness of life. We can speak to God openly without distraction and listen for His responses. In these moments, we begin to see prayer as more than just a ritual or a duty. It becomes a lifeline, a direct connection to the Creator. As we engage in prayer during isolation, we learn to depend on God for wisdom, peace, and understanding. Our relationship with Him deepens as we become more intentional in our communication with Him, and our faith grows as we see the power of prayer at work in our lives. Isolation also teaches us to surrender control. In a world where we are constantly told to take charge of our lives and make things happen, isolation can feel like a loss of control. However, it is through this loss that we gain a deeper understanding of what it means to surrender to God's will. We come to realize that we cannot control every aspect of our lives, but we can trust that God is in control. In isolation, we learn to release our need for control and place our trust fully in God. This surrender brings a sense of peace as we acknowledge that God's plan is greater than our own and that His ways are higher than our understanding. Through isolation, we are given the opportunity to grow in our faith and reliance on God. We learn to trust in His timing, His provision, and His strength. We grow in our intimacy with Him, and our faith is refined through the trials and challenges of isolation. It is in these moments of solitude that we come to understand that we are not alone, and that God is with us every step of the way. Our faith becomes stronger, more steadfast, and more dependent on Him, preparing us for the challenges ahead. Solitude is a space for healing and emotional restoration. In the hustle and bustle of life, we often neglect the emotional wounds that we carry. Whether it's the pain from past relationships, the weight of unmet expectations, or the hurt from betrayal or failure, these emotional scars can go unnoticed as we race through our daily routines. However, solitude provides the necessary space for us to confront these wounds, process them, and begin to heal. It is in these quiet moments when we are alone with our thoughts and feelings that we are able to reflect, release, and restore our emotional well-being. In solitude, we are removed from the noise and chaos that often distract us from our true emotions. We can no longer bury our feelings under the demands of work, family, or social obligations. Instead, we are given the opportunity to sit with our emotions, to acknowledge their presence, and to allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel. This is the first step in healing: acceptance. It can be difficult to face our emotions head-on, especially when they are tied to past pain or unresolved issues. But when we are alone, we are free from judgment and can safely confront our emotional struggles without fear of rejection or criticism. When we are alone, we also have the opportunity to process our feelings at our own pace. In the presence of others, there can be an unspoken pressure to move on quickly, to get over it, or to put on a brave face. However, this often leads to suppressed emotions that are never fully addressed. Solitude allows us to take the time we need to process our emotions without feeling rushed. We can take each step slowly, acknowledging the pain, understanding where it comes from, and allowing ourselves the space to grieve or to release it. This process of emotional restoration is not something that can be rushed or forced. It must unfold naturally in its own time. Solitude provides the ideal environment for this healing process to take place, as it allows us to move through the stages of healing at our own pace without external pressures. Additionally, in solitude, we can reconnect with ourselves on a deeper level. Many times, emotional wounds are tied to a loss of self-worth or self-identity. When we are hurt, it can feel as though a part of us is lost or broken. Solitude offers us the space to rediscover our true selves, separate from the roles we play in the lives of others. It allows us to reflect on our strengths, our values, and the things that bring us joy and fulfillment. In this process, we are reminded of our inherent worth and dignity. We can affirm our own value regardless of the opinions or actions of others. This reconnection with ourselves is essential for emotional healing, as it helps us rebuild our confidence and sense of self. Solitude also provides a powerful opportunity for forgiveness. Many emotional wounds are the result of unresolved anger, resentment, or hurt caused by others. These negative emotions can weigh heavily on our hearts, preventing us from moving forward. In solitude, we are able to reflect on these wounds and decide whether we are ready to forgive. Forgiveness is not always easy, especially when the pain is deep, but it is an essential part of emotional healing. Solitude allows us to process our feelings of hurt, acknowledge the wrongs that have been done, and choose to release them. In doing so, we free ourselves from the emotional burden of carrying unforgiveness. This act of forgiveness is not for the benefit of others, but for our own healing and restoration. Moreover, solitude can provide a sense of peace and calm that is necessary for emotional healing. In the constant rush of life, our minds are often cluttered with worries, anxieties, and stress. These emotions can prevent us from healing because they keep us in a state of heightened tension and unease. Solitude allows us to quiet our minds and create space for peace to settle in. By taking time for ourselves, whether through meditation, prayer, or simply sitting in silence, we can invite a sense of calm into our hearts. This calmness allows us to process our emotions more clearly and to gain perspective on the situations that have caused us pain. It is in this peaceful space that healing can truly begin. When we are alone, we are also able to cultivate self-compassion. Often, when we are struggling emotionally, we are our own harshest critics. We may tell ourselves that we are weak, that we should be able to handle things on our own, or that we don't deserve to feel pain. This negative self-talk only exacerbates our emotional wounds, preventing us from healing. Solitude provides us with the chance to be kinder to ourselves. We can practice self-compassion by acknowledging that it's okay to feel hurt, that it's okay to be vulnerable, and that we don't have to be perfect. By offering ourselves the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend, we can begin to heal from the inside out. Furthermore, solitude can help us gain clarity and perspective on the situations that have caused us pain. In the presence of others, it can be easy to become overwhelmed by emotions, making it difficult to see the situation objectively. However, in solitude, we have the space to step back and reflect on what happened. We can view the situation from a different angle, allowing us to better understand the causes of our pain and the lessons we can learn from it. This clarity can be incredibly healing, as it helps us make sense of the emotions we are experiencing and empowers us to move forward with a greater sense of understanding and acceptance. Ultimately, solitude provides the perfect environment for emotional restoration. It offers us the time and space to confront our emotions, process our pain, and begin to heal. In the stillness of solitude, we can reconnect with ourselves, practice forgiveness, cultivate self-compassion, and gain clarity and peace. These moments of isolation are not a punishment, but a gift that allows us to restore our emotional health and well-being. Through solitude, we can emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient, ready to face the challenges that lie ahead with a renewed sense of inner peace. Solitude cultivates self-discovery and personal growth. In a world filled with constant noise, external opinions, and social pressures, it can be incredibly difficult to truly know yourself. The busyness of life often forces us to mold ourselves into the expectations of others, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or social circles. We may start to lose touch with who we truly are and what we genuinely want out of life. Solitude provides the rare and essential opportunity to step away from the noise and connect with our authentic selves. It is in the quiet moments of isolation that we are able to rediscover our passions, our purpose, and our true identity. When we are alone, we are free from the distractions and judgments of others. We no longer have to conform to the roles that others expect us to play. This freedom allows us to reconnect with our innermost desires, to explore what truly brings us joy, and to reflect on the dreams and ambitions that are unique to us. In solitude, we can think deeply about the direction we want our lives to take and the person we want to become. There is no need to filter ourselves or adjust to anyone else's expectations. We can simply be ourselves without any outside influence. This process of self-reflection is essential for personal growth because it allows us to uncover the passions and interests that have been buried under layers of obligation and social conditioning. Additionally, solitude provides us with the space to evaluate our current circumstances and make intentional choices about our future. In the hustle of everyday life, we often get caught up in the cycle of routine without ever questioning whether our current path aligns with our true desires. Solitude allows us to step back and look at our lives from a broader perspective. We can assess whether we are living in a way that aligns with our values, goals, and dreams. If we find that we have been pursuing things that don't truly fulfill us, solitude provides the space to make changes. We can reflect on what truly matters to us and begin to take steps toward a more authentic life, one that is in harmony with who we are at our core. This kind of self-assessment is crucial for personal growth as it helps us realign our lives with our true purpose. When we spend time alone, we are also able to develop a deeper understanding of our strengths and weaknesses. In the presence of others, it is easy to downplay our abilities or to hide our insecurities. We may seek validation from others to boost our self-esteem or avoid confronting our flaws out of fear of judgment. But in solitude, there is no one else to impress or to compare ourselves to. We are left with the raw truth of who we are. This can be a powerful and sometimes uncomfortable experience, but it is also the first step towards self-empowerment. In solitude, we can acknowledge both our strengths and our weaknesses without judgment. This self-awareness is the foundation for personal growth, as it allows us to embrace who we truly are and work on areas of our lives that need improvement. Moreover, solitude gives us the time to develop the skills and qualities that will help us grow as individuals. Whether it's developing emotional resilience, improving our communication skills, or cultivating a sense of discipline, solitude provides the perfect environment for self-improvement. When we are alone, we are in control of our time and energy. We can choose to dedicate ourselves to personal development without the distractions or expectations of others. Whether it's through reading, journaling, meditating, or engaging in creative pursuits, solitude allows us to invest in our personal growth. This is an essential aspect of self-discovery as it allows us to uncover new talents, strengths, and abilities that may have been hidden beneath the surface. In solitude, we also learn the importance of self-reliance and independence. In a world that often encourages us to seek approval or help from others, solitude teaches us how to stand on our own. It is in these moments of isolation that we learn to trust ourselves, to make decisions based on our own instincts, and to rely on our inner wisdom. This independence builds our confidence and empowers us to take control of our lives. As we navigate the challenges of life on our own, we gain a deeper sense of self-worth and resilience. We begin to see that we are capable of handling whatever life throws our way, and that we don't need to rely on anyone else to define our value or to guide us. Solitude also gives us the opportunity to reconnect with our inner desires and goals. In the rush of daily life, it can be easy to forget what truly excites us or what we've always dreamed of achieving. The opinions of others, the demands of work, and the distractions of social media can all cause us to lose sight of our passions and aspirations. But in solitude, we can rediscover these dreams and set new goals for ourselves. Whether it's a long-forgotten hobby, a career change, or a personal project we've been putting off, solitude allows us to focus on what truly matters to us. We can make a plan to pursue these goals and take the first steps toward making them a reality. Furthermore, solitude teaches us the value of patience and perseverance. Personal growth is not an overnight process. It requires time, effort, and dedication. When we are alone, we are often faced with the challenge of navigating our own path without immediate feedback or validation from others. This can be difficult, but it also strengthens our resolve. We learn that growth is a gradual process, and that progress is often made in small, incremental steps. Solitude provides the perfect environment for this type of personal growth, as it encourages us to stay focused on our goals and to trust in the process, even when results are not immediately visible. Through solitude, we come to understand that personal growth is not about perfection, but about progress. It's about learning, evolving, and becoming the best version of ourselves. Solitude allows us to take the time to focus on what truly matters, to reconnect with our core values, and to grow into the person we are meant to be. It is in these quiet moments of isolation that we are able to make the most significant strides towards self-discovery and personal growth. By embracing solitude, we give ourselves the gift of transformation, allowing us to step into our true potential and create a life that reflects our deepest desires and aspirations. Solitude allows for the development of deeper relationships with others. While it may seem paradoxical that being alone can lead to stronger connections with others, solitude creates the necessary space for us to grow as individuals and in turn improve the quality of our relationships. When we are constantly surrounded by others, we can become so wrapped up in the dynamics of those relationships that we lose sight of who we are and what we need. In solitude, we have the chance to rediscover our own identity, values, and boundaries, which strengthens the way we engage with others. One of the most important aspects of healthy relationships is knowing and understanding oneself. Without this self-awareness, it can be difficult to truly connect with others in an authentic and meaningful way. Often we enter relationships with expectations that are shaped by external influences, societal norms, or past experiences. These expectations can create an imbalance in relationships, as we may look to others to fulfill needs that we haven't yet addressed within ourselves. In solitude, we have the opportunity to reflect on who we are, what we want from relationships, and what we are willing to give. This self-knowledge allows us to enter relationships from a place of clarity and strength, making it easier to communicate our needs and desires and to navigate the challenges that arise. Furthermore, solitude helps us cultivate emotional independence. We often look to our relationships to provide emotional validation, support, and fulfillment. While relationships can and should be a source of love and care, relying on others for emotional stability can lead to codependency or unhealthy attachment. Solitude teaches us to find peace and comfort within ourselves. It allows us to connect with our own emotions, process them independently, and learn to meet our emotional needs without seeking constant external reassurance. This emotional independence is essential for the health of any relationship, as it allows us to show up as our true selves rather than relying on others to fix or complete us. When we are emotionally whole and self-sufficient, we bring a healthier, more balanced energy to our relationships. Another benefit of solitude is that it encourages us to develop patience and empathy. When we spend time alone, we become more in touch with our own inner struggles, frustrations, and emotional needs. This self-reflection allows us to develop a greater understanding of others and their own challenges. We become more compassionate because we recognize that everyone has their own battles to fight. Solitude fosters empathy by giving us the space to reflect on our own emotional landscape, which then enables us to be more understanding and supportive of others when they need it. Instead of reacting impulsively or from a place of frustration, we are able to respond with kindness and consideration, which deepens our connections and strengthens our bonds with others. In addition to developing empathy, solitude encourages us to become better listeners. When we are constantly surrounded by noise and distractions, it can be difficult to truly hear what others are saying. We may be so focused on our own thoughts or on responding to someone's words that we fail to fully understand their perspective. Solitude sharpens our ability to listen deeply, as it trains us to tune into our own inner voice and to be present with our thoughts and emotions. This heightened self-awareness translates into better listening skills when we are with others. We learn to be fully present in conversations, to listen not just to words, but also to emotions and unspoken cues, which leads to more meaningful and authentic interactions. Moreover, solitude gives us the opportunity to reflect on the dynamics of our relationships. When we are alone, we can evaluate the health of our connections with others and consider whether they are serving us in positive ways. It's easy to overlook red flags or tolerate toxic behavior when we are caught up in the day-to-day flow of life, but solitude allows us to take a step back and reflect on our relationships from a place of clarity. This reflection helps us identify any unhealthy patterns or imbalances, allowing us to make necessary changes or set boundaries. We may realize that certain relationships are draining or that we have been neglecting our own needs for the sake of others. Solitude helps us make conscious decisions about the relationships we choose to invest in, leading to healthier, more fulfilling connections. In addition to reflection, solitude gives us the space to heal and grow. Many of us carry emotional wounds from past relationships, whether from family, friendships, or romantic partners. These wounds can impact the way we engage with others, causing us to be guarded, defensive, or fearful of opening up. Solitude provides a healing environment in which we can process these wounds and learn from them. By spending time alone, we are able to work through past hurts, let go of old grudges, and forgive ourselves and others. This emotional healing allows us to approach future relationships with an open heart, free from the baggage of the past. As we heal and grow, we become more capable of offering love, support, and understanding to others in a way that is grounded in our own well-being. Solitude also provides the opportunity for self-care, which is essential for maintaining healthy relationships. When we neglect our own needs, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, we may begin to feel drained, resentful, or overwhelmed. These feelings can spill over into our interactions with others, causing tension and conflict. Solitude gives us the time and space to prioritize self-care, whether it's through rest, meditation, exercise, or pursuing hobbies that bring us joy. By taking care of ourselves, we replenish our energy and ensure that we are showing up as our best selves in our relationships. When we take time to nurture our own well-being, we are better equipped to care for others and to contribute to the health of our connections. Finally, solitude allows us to better understand the concept of love and connection. In the quiet moments of isolation, we can reflect on what love truly means and how we can embody it in our relationships. Solitude helps us recognize that love is not just about receiving, but also about giving. It is not just about the good times, but also about the difficult moments when we are called to show patience, understanding, and support. By spending time alone, we gain a deeper appreciation for the value of love, and we become more intentional in how we express it. This understanding of love enhances our ability to build lasting, meaningful relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, trust, and care. Through solitude, we are not only able to grow as individuals, but also to cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships with others. By developing self-awareness, emotional independence, empathy, and a stronger sense of self-worth, we bring more to our relationships and connect with others on a deeper level. Solitude allows us the time and space to heal, reflect, and grow, which ultimately enables us to build healthier, more fulfilling connections with those around us. In this way, solitude becomes a powerful tool for enriching our relationships and creating a life filled with love, understanding, and mutual respect.